After the first Teen Wolf was a success, well, it made a lot of money. That was mostly due to Michael J. Fox's charm and likability, and the werewolf part. And after that came a CBS animated series. Was everybody really screaming, sequel, sequel, we want sequel? Well, I bet the filmmakers thought that. And they wrote up a sequel. And I'm pretty sure at this point they knew Michael J. Fox had no desire to return to the role of Scott Howard, since he found the makeup in the first film excruciating and he can only eat liquid foods. So what do they do to comprehend this? They write in a totally new character. Todd Howard, played by Jason Bateman, who got a athletic scholarship. He finds that weird since he has no athletic abilities. He played in the marching band. But because he is the cousin of the famous Teen Wolf from Beacon Town, he is signed up for boxing, college boxing, by Coach Finstock, played by Paul Sand, not Jay Torres from the first film. Will Todd become the Wolf? I shouldn't call him Scott, sorry. And will he become popular and will he let it go to his head? Well, I don't care. I won't lie. When I saw this movie when I was a kid, I liked this movie. Since I loved the first one so much, I liked this movie. But now you get older, you get to see where this movie goes wrong. And don't get me wrong, Jason Bateman has the same amount of charm and likability since he was hot commodity on TV's The Hogan Family. But even he couldn't save this movie. Yeah, I'm sure they thought a sequel would be awesome. And after that, the filmmakers quickly regretted it. It almost makes no attempt to be different from the first film. Oh, except with some exceptions, like instead of high school, this is college. Instead of basketball, it's boxing. And another exception, even though Scott became popular and he kind of let it go to his head, he never differed into becoming a total jerk, which was totally opposite of what Todd becomes here. He becomes very unlikable. And his chemistry with, I forgot the character's name, but her actress's name is Estee Chandler, who Todd hooks up with in the film, but she was supposed to be this film's version of Boof, but I bought Scott and Boof's chemistry, but I didn't buy their chemistry. It just kind of seems forced in there. Although it was nice to see James Hampton as Harold Howard return and helping his nephew Todd out in this film. I mean, why is he helping it? What is it with Todd's parents? Was Uncle Harold more of a father to him than his own father? It seems that way. There's no explanation why Uncle Harold's helping him move into his dorm and not his father. Well, it does get mentioned that Todd's parents aren't werewolves, and you figure it could pass away. It could skip a generation, but it skipped his parents, but it didn't skip him. It just sort of gets mentioned there. And Chubby, played by Mark Holden. You notice I failed to mention he was in the first film? I'm sorry, Mark. He wasn't a real main character in the first film, but he was a memorable character. All he got was basically fat jokes. Because he's fat! Oh, Mark, although I don't know what he gets called mostly when he walks down the street. His other well-known role is from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He played Pee-wee's nemesis, Francis. I don't know what he gets called most. Francis? Or Chubby? I'm sure he doesn't mind, although he's still busy these days. He's most notably playing on the straight-to-DVD film Gacy. You know, the serial killer. He played serial killer John Wayne Gacy. Didn't see that movie. Well, I saw it briefly, but I didn't see much of it. Maybe I'll see it one day. And two characters that were in the first film are in this film, but they're totally recast. That would be Coach Finstock, played by Paul Sand. In the first film, was played by Jay Torres, who is pretty unlikable and very dry. Think about Coach Finstock in the first film. He may not have been a great coach, but at least he was likable. This Coach Finstock in this film is not likable. And Stuart Fratkin as Styles. In the first film, he was played by Jerry Levine. Nothing against Stuart Fratkin. I don't think he's a terrible actor, but he doesn't quite have Levine's sharp wit. He doesn't. And the scene where Scott goes up to his dorm, and after he becomes a laughingstock when he's the wolf, and since Styles is his roommate, it says no dogs allowed, and they have a doggy dish outside for him. That is totally not who Styles was in the first film. Did the screenwriter not even see the first film? Styles would never do that to Scott. Why would he do that to Todd? That makes no sense. And the boxing scenes. Oh man. When he's the wolf don't even look that interesting and don't even really grab your interest. I mean, they just like, they look more like a bad Benny Hill skit. Well, the boxing scenes were just kind of ridiculous. Now, the basketball scenes from the first film were at least enjoyably and watchable, especially in the scenes when he's the wolf. But here it just looks like it's a parody, especially the scenes when Scott gives me a cake of beer and his voice changed and his eyes changed. In the first film, it was enjoyably creepy. Here, it's like it's a parody of that scene. And then there is this film's version of Gus and Lisa, who are basically the Mick and Pamela of this film. They're not even characters. They're just cliches just waiting to happen. Mick and Pamela may have been unlikable characters, but at least they were characters. Here, Gus and Lisa are just like I said, they're just cliches just waiting to happen. Well, is there anything good to say about this film? Well, there are two other memorable characters besides Uncle Harold and Chubby. There are John Astin as Dean Dunn, who is good at being this over-the-top eccentric. But of course, after Gomez Adams, you would expect nothing more from John Astin. He's just unlikable with his villainous grin. And then there's Kim Darby as a professor who takes a liking to Todd and wants to help him. Before this, I always just knew her as the mom from Better Off Dead, one of my favorite films of the 80s. Of course, you know she was also in True Grit with John Wayne when she was much younger than she is now. Is Teen Wolf 2? Why is there a T-O-O in the credits? It should be T-W-O. It's not the number 2. Teen Wolf 2 is nothing more than a cash grab. You wonder why you see more of the first film and less of this film on TV, so I give it a 3 out of 10. Bye-bye.